Hi, everybody. Joe Cioffi here. Weather in 5 days and 5 minutes on this Wednesday evening, the 7th of January. There's no Joe and Joe weather show tonight, but there will be a Joe and Joe weather show tomorrow night at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time, and it's quite likely that we will have a Joe and Joe weather show on Thursday, and then again on Friday. Friday's usually a day off, but I think we're going to have a show nonetheless. We have the first winter storm watches up for north central and northeastern Texas, including Dallas, Fort Worth, southeast Oklahoma, northern Louisiana, including Shreveport, much of Arkansas, western Tennessee, and that includes Memphis, northern Mississippi. And I would expect to see winter storm watches going up for northern Alabama, northern Georgia, possibly including Atlanta, as well as the rest of Tennessee, and eventually into the Carolinas and southern Virginia before this is all said and done at the end of the week. On the satellite loop, we've got a lot of clouds that are hanging back around the Great Lakes. A lot of what you see here, though, as you go further south, is really snow cover from the last storm system that moved on through. And of course, now we're starting to see the moisture piling up into the western Gulf of Mexico, the beginnings of it. And eventually, we're going to see low pressure develop here, and that is going to be the next weather maker. The energy for this is dropping down now into the southwest. You can see this little pearl that's down in Arizona. So that is the area of energy that we're looking at that's going to be gradually shifting to the east. Checking out the radars across the United States, it's pretty quiet. We do still have some snows going on in parts of upstate New York, some leftover lake effect. Some of the lake effect areas in north central New York, especially around Syracuse and points northward, have been astounding, several feet or more. Some snow showers up in western Vermont, continuing up the St. Lawrence River Valley. Nothing going on across the south, and you're just beginning to see a few specks starting to show up on the radar in southeast Texas from that Gulf of Mexico moisture. And as we look ahead, as far as the melted precipitation is concerned, and this takes us through the weekend, we're showing in the northeast, the coastal northeast, a tenth to a quarter, and then we have a quarter inch to a half an inch from Boston across Long Island to about New York City, going south and west of there. And then you can see the amounts pick up considerably as you head down into the deep south. Much of what's here on the northern fringe of the area across the Gulf states is going to fall in the form of snow, and we're seeing 3/4 of an inch to an inch of liquid generated. Now, some of that may wind up also being sleet and freezing rain, depending on where the rain snow line winds up. Mostly half-inch amounts in Georgia and South Carolina. I suspect that you're going to see the amounts increased for Virginia and North Carolina and Tennessee before this is all said and done. So as we look at a couple of the models this afternoon, we're gonna start with the GFS and take a look at that. And we see on the new GFS, make sure I'll get that 18Z map up here. And there you go. Here comes that developing low. You can see the snow. This is by Friday afternoon. It will have reached western, North, and South Carolina, all of the northern half of Georgia. The pink area is sleet and freezing rain. Darker blue snows indicate maybe areas of moderate to heavy snow, and they're kind of arced up into northern Mississippi. The low tracks eastward into southern Georgia and then eventually into eastern North Carolina. Now, for the Northeast, we still have this big amorphous blocking low in Atlantic Canada. And if you remember the model from a couple of days ago, or actually from yesterday, showing this colossal storm in the East Coast, well, the block is so powerful that it really is not leaving any room for anything major to develop. And we suspected that over the last couple of days that could very well be the case. So we're dealing with a system that's going to be probably passing off the North Carolina coast and then southeast of New Jersey, moving east-northeast from there. So we'll probably see snows coming in Friday night across Virginia and spreading northward to about New York City Saturday morning. Lighter snows as you go further north. The darker blue area of heavier snow goes through central Virginia, the areas around Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Delaware, into southern New Jersey, and then out. And then it goes northeast from there. I think this is going to be probably a situation where central and northern New Jersey to Long Island, maybe just north of New York City into parts of southern and southeastern New England, wind up with perhaps an inch or two or an inch or three. And then from southern New Jersey on south, you could certainly see another 3 to 6 inches or more. It's an early guess on my part. We will still have plenty of time to watch this. And I'm just also going to illustrate for you what's happening here with the upper trough and the block. So here's your blocking low. Let me roll back, and you see it here. This really enormous system over Newfoundland that's just spinning around, spinning around. We're going to continue to see very gusty winds for Wednesday and Thursday, maybe probably into early Friday. Block holds on longer than what models were showing, so the next trough, you'll notice, has this positive tilt to it. In other words, it's stretched out generally northeast to southwest. So it'll just pretty much sweep everything eastward. There'll be a little bit of northward lift this time, but not enough to create any big snowstorm anywhere. It'll just bring up the precip. It'll do what it's going to do and then move out. And then once the storm system moves offshore, it's back to very cold and windy conditions because we're still going to have some semblance of blocking out in the North Atlantic. So it's a fairly complex setup. There's still a lot to work out, especially across the deep south when it comes to snow amounts, and even for the mid Atlantic and into southern areas of the Northeast. I'm for those areas in the in the Northeast and into the Mid Atlantic states, thinking that this is going to be a minor to moderate event. The heavier snows will be more to the south, again in the Mid Atlantic, and not up into the Northeast proper. So we'll be back tomorrow night at 7:35 with the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast. We'll be on Thursday, and we'll be on Friday as well. So have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow.